When AEW announced that they would be running Wembley Stadium this summer, Tony Khan got a lot of flack from people, thinking that he was crazy. Not from everybody, but enough of it that they thought he was going too big for their first show in the UK. He's always wanted to run the UK. He's mentioned Craven Cottage, that would fit about 25,000 people. 20,000 was their all-time attendance record for Arthur Ashe Stadium. And at the time, that was a statement. When they put 20,000 people in that building in New York, that was a statement made. That they could come into WWE's backyard and they can pack a big building. Their first show at the new UBS Arena on Long Island actually beat WWE's first show in that same building the first time. It's all about making a statement. Tony Khan wanted to make a statement by running Wembley Stadium. I didn't think 50,000 people was unrealistic, even though they have never run a stadium that big before. Even 40,000 would have been double what they did in Queens. Tickets went on sale on Tuesday for the all-in presale. And that first day alone, AEW sold over 36,000 tickets. Shattered their all-time record with a $4.7 million gate. 32 hours later, they were up to 43,000 tickets sold and a $5.7 million gate. That was still with the general on sale yet to come on Friday. Mike Coppinger, who works for ESPN as a boxing insider, I certainly hope his insider information on boxing is better than his insider information on wrestling is. He tweeted on Tuesday that he was hearing that Wembley is only scaled for 40,000 for AEW. A far cry, he said, from last April when he was at ringside for Tyson Fury's fight, and it was packed to the brim with 94,000 people. Tony Khan didn't like that very much, and he lashed out. He called him a liar. He said it was a load of crap, and that he could tell his agent, Nick Khan, to shove it up his ass. Then he tweeted him again. He said, "You carry the credentials of a credible reporter and you represent the worldwide leader. I'm just curious, who is your source for this, and how can a reporter representing ESPN tweet something about a legitimate news story that is so blatantly wrong and easily verified as a falsehood?" That's a valid question. When you have something that is so demonstrably false, he never even bothered to issue a correction on the tweet. So either his source misled him, or, more likely, he was full of shit to begin with. Either way, it was not a good look for him. And it wasn't a good look for Tony either to explode the way that he did. I would have just offered this guy a ticket to the show, since he said he loves the big fight feel at Wembley, to experience it for himself, and I would have left it at that. By the next day, it was clear, anyway, that the building was scaled for a lot more than 40,000. The guy embarrassed himself without Tony Khan having to even go after him. There were a lot of other people who embarrassed themselves on social media this week. A lot of drones who were in full meltdown mode and had a very difficult time coping this week, making all kinds of excuses for why these numbers were not impressive or they weren't even real, right? We heard everything from Tony Khan bought all the tickets himself, to it being mostly scalpers buying the tickets, to them just flat out lying about the numbers, even though Ticketmaster would say otherwise. I guess Ticketmaster is conspiring with AEW. It's part of the conspiracy. I had another person tell me, well, it doesn't matter how many tickets they sell. It's who actually shows up in the stands. I had to do a double take when I saw this tweet. I didn't even know how to respond to that, so I didn't even bother. I don't know if he was implying that 50,000 people would buy tickets and then not show up, or if they would get lost maybe on their way to the stadium and end up at Wembley Arena instead of Wembley Stadium. I mean, the derangement here is real. It is real, and it was on full display. And I have been enjoying the meltdown myself. It's been very entertaining. A month ago, I didn't think 50,000 was such an outlandish number as a final number for what they would sell. By Thursday night, Tony Khan said they had 50,000 tickets sold. They earmarked 50,000 tickets for the pre-sale. They sold all 50,000 for a $6.5 million gate. By Friday, when tickets went on sale to the general public, they sold over 60,000 tickets for a $7.7 million gate. This from a company that only had its first $1 million gate last year, not even a year ago, for Double or Nothing. 1 year later, they're on their way to a $10 million gate for a show with not a single name or a single match announced 4 months in advance. 4 months out, if they're already nearing $8 million, they're going to break $10 million on a gate for this show. Now, to put that in perspective, the total paid attendance for each night of WrestleMania this year was around 60,000. I know they claimed 80 or whatever they claimed on television. The funniest thing about WrestleMania this year is when they whatever the number was that they announced on the Saturday show, and I think they announced it as a sellout. And I want to say maybe it was a little higher than the number that they announced on the Sunday show, but they announced, though, or maybe it was the other way around, but I remember they announced that it was sold out, and then they announced, I think, a number that was higher. I think that's what it was. And then that was sold out. And it's like, well, which is it? Is this number a sellout or is this number a sellout? It's the numbers they announce. They do this with WrestleMania every year. I don't know why, because you just look out at WrestleMania and it's super impressive, but they always exaggerate the numbers. This show is going to beat both nights of WrestleMania as far as paid attendance is concerned. That is, just think about that. That is a crazy thought. Now, yes, they are running a bigger building than SoFi, and WWE has the big elaborate set and everything else, but just the fact that they are going to have a higher paid attendance than WWE had for either night of WrestleMania this year is incredible. This show is going to beat not only both nights of WrestleMania, it crushes the largest attendance that WCW ever did, which is the closest thing to a real competitor WWE ever had before AEW came along, was WCW. WCW was fucking beating them and kicking their ass for a few years. And the biggest attendance that they ever did was for the Georgia Dome show with Goldberg against Hollywood Hogan in '98, and AEW has already smoked that. No matter how many tickets they end up selling, this has already been a massive success because this is AEW going into a new market and making a statement. Tony Khan took a risk. That risk has already paid off. This will be the biggest show in AEW history. This is their WrestleMania 3. Now all they need is their own Hogan Andre. Good luck finding that. That's all they need to find now. But that's what this is. This is going to be, you're going to look out, you're going to get that wide crowd shot. And this is going to be their WrestleMania 3. Right now, it doesn't look like it's airing on pay-per-view. Since they already have a pay-per-view airing a week later, they're going to be having All Out, likely in Chicago. So maybe it streams on the new Max service. I mean, that's just a guess on my part. I can't imagine this just airs on television with commercial breaks. I feel like that would be fucking terrible. It's going to air somewhere. But doing pay-per-views back-to-back weeks would be asking a lot of their audience. So that's why I say streaming on that new Max service seems pretty likely to me. This is their first time overseas, and they have already proven that they can be a live event powerhouse. And this is only going to help them when it comes to making international deals. This is what some people don't understand when they're just looking at it from the perspective of just ticket sales for this one show. This has already been a massive success for this company, far beyond just one night in August. Now, if they've already done over 60,000 4 months out without any matches being announced, and if they can load that card up, you got Sting's retirement match. If Sting is hanging it up this year, he won't have a bigger crowd to perform in front of than the one at Wembley. Maybe you do Sting's retirement match. Nigel McGuinness said that if they sell out, he might just have to lace up the boots again. Nigel back in the ring in the UK would be an attraction as well for them to put on that show. If they can convince CM Punk and the Elite to work together, I mean, there's plenty of big things that they could put on this card. There's been talk about Goldberg. Mike Goldberg, sign with AEW and do something. And yeah, you could do that. You could bring Goldberg in this summer and you can build him up for a match at Wembley against Wardlow or someone, right? There's a lot of different things, not to mention bringing in talent from other promotions. Will Ospreay from New Japan, or if they want to bring talent from other promotions as well, not just New Japan, and work together and have them on the show. Plenty of possibilities. They can come up with a few big things. I don't think they're going to get 90,000 plus just because that's max capacity, and however small their stage is going to be, I don't know that they can scale it for 90,000. Maybe they can. But given all that, it's hard to imagine once they start putting a card together that they're not going to get to that 80 to 90,000 range. If they already have 70 or almost 70, it's not 70 yet, but they're closing in on that. If they already have that 4 months out, 80 to 90 sounds pretty realistic. And that blows away even the most generous prediction that I could ever come up with. The fact that it's even possible that they might sell out Wembley is one of the greatest wrestling success stories of all time, and they should be very proud of that.